Good day, everyone. Before I start the presentation, let me ask a question. Have you ever stopped to consider the impact of the constant hum of traffic, yung mga busina, ganun, or the glare of street lights at night, or the unseen contaminants in the soil beneath your feet? So this seemingly minor aspect of our modern world contributes to a significant environmental burden. For example, soil, light, and noise pollution often overshadowed of yung mga various or mga visible forms of pollution. These three types of pollution have far-reaching consequences for both the environmental and the human well-being. So in this video, we will going to shed light to the types of um, noise, light, and soil pollution. And we're going to mm, explore some strategies for creating a healthier and more sustainable future. So here in our PPT, the title is Pollution Environment and its Mitigation Process. So here's our topic outline. So, ang subtopic na assign sa amin is solid waste pollution and light and noise pollution. So first is, we're going to define what is solid pollution, light pollution, and noise pollution. The second one is types of solid, light, and noise pollution. And the third one is treatment and management. Next is, we're going to dive deeper sa solid pollution. So, solid pollution or soil pollution is defined as the presence of toxic chemicals, pollutants, or contaminants in soil in high enough concentration to pose a risk to human health and or the ecosystem. So, it means it is solid pollution daw or soil pollution daw. It is the presence yung ng mga toxic chemicals sa ating lupa. For example, oil, yung mga toxic chemicals like pesticides, or even plastic. Presence nila sa ating lupa. Kasi kapag meron silang presence and high concentration sila para makapag-risk or makapahamak ng human health or even other organism or even the ecosystem, that is solid pollution. Kapag meron silang kakayahan or this materials, may kakayahan sila makapag-risk ng human health or even other organism, and that is solid pollution. Ibig sabihin, contaminated na yung lupa. Alright? Are we clear? So, next slide is, these are the types of solid pollution. So, we have two types of solid pollution. We have point sources contamination and non-point sources contamination. So, the point sources contamination is stated here that refers to localized areas where pollutants are released directly into the soil. These sources are often associated with specific identifiable origins, making them relatively easier to measure. So, sa point sources, kaya natin or measurable kung saan yung pinanggalingan or yung nakalagay dito, identifiable origins. Alam natin kung saan nanggaling yung pollution or saan nanggagaling. So, like for example, para mas maintindihan natin. For example, meron tayo isang factory. Yung factory na yung nagkaroon ng leakage. So, may mga chemicals doon na nag-leak at napunta sa ating mga lupa or napunta sa soil. So, that chemicals contaminated our soil. Diba? So, doon sa situation natin, alam natin kung it is easier to us to measure or malaman kung saan yung pinagmulan ng toxic chemicals. It is from the factories na nagkaroon ng leakage. So, alam natin, madali para sa atin na identify kung saan nagmula yung pollution or soil pollution. While sa non-point sources naman, kabalik na rin sila. It is harder to pinpoint kasi mas broad, mas widespread yung pwede nating maging origin. For example, yung mga animals, mga waste ng mga animals, and pesticides. Kapag nagkaroon ng malakas na ulan, na wawash out yun ng rainwater, and then, mapupunta siya sa mga iba't ibang places. So, for example, napunta siya sa urban places. Yung mga pesticides, yung mga animal waste, or mga heavy, mga fertilizers na nandun sa farm is na-wash out ng rainwater. Or, huwag na natin sabihin na sa urban. Sabihin na lang natin, napunta yung mga yun sa rivers, sa lake, sa groundwater. Yun yung point na makakontaminate na nila or makakontaminate na yung lupa. So, it is hard na ma-pinpoint kasi saan mo ba? Saan ba nanggaling to? And na-wash out lang naman siya ng rainwater compared doon sa point sources. Are we clear? The two types of solid pollution, the point sources and non-point sources. Okay. Next, ayun. Types of solid pollution under point sources. It includes the industrial sites, factories, manufacturing plants, and processing facilities can release contaminants such as heavy metals, solvents, and chemicals directly into the soil. Kagaya na sinabi ko kanina, mga factories or manufacturing plants. Diba? Yung mga heavy metals nila, kahit heavy metals, kasi meron silang different materials sa metals. Yung mga arsenic, mga ganun. Kaya nun, makakontaminate ng lupa. Kaya niya makapollute ng soil. Yeah, industrial site. Next is the waste dump, landfill, and the spills and accidents. Those are the types of point sources. Next, ito naman yung mga types ng, or examples ng non-point sources. Includes yung agricultural runoff. Kagaya nung ginawa ko example kanina, na yung mga pesticides, fertilizer, and yung mga animal waste, na-carried siya or na-wash out siya ng rainwater. Napupunta siya sa mga rivers, lake, or even sa urban places, diba? Napupunta siya. So, hindi natin alam, saan ba galing to? Saan bang farm galing to? Or sa farm ba galing to? May mga ganun tayong question. Tapos, next is urban runoff. Rainwater washes pollutants from streets, parking lots, and urban areas into the soil, carrying substances like heavy metals, oil residue, and litter. Next is the types of next is erosion. Soil erosion caused by factors like deforestation, construction, and improper land management can transport contaminated particles to new areas. Those are the examples of non-point sources. So, let me call on Ms. Jana Tarenya, to further explain the treatment and management of soil pollution. And that's all. Thank you.
So let's go to the treatment and management of solid waste pollution. Number one, we have here reuse, reduce, recycle. Reuse, reduce, recycle is a very important thing to prevent or limit the solid waste pollution in our environment. Using used plastic to create some creative fun activity is very fine in our environment since we recycle some things that we can use. So yeah, second one is limit of chemical fertilizer. Nowadays we have natural fertilizer that we can use to produce natural resources. To limit the chemical fertilizer, we can search up for alternative use of fertilizer or mga natural fertilizer that we can use. So third one is improve hazardous waste management. So sa improve hazardous waste management, I'll give an examples of hazardous waste management. We have batteries na madalas natin nakikita sa ating house. So how can we improve the hazardous waste management? Instead of itapon na lang sa labas ang mga used batteries na can cause a harmful impact to the people, we can dig sa soil and then ibabaon natin ito para hindi magkalat ang mga chemical na dala-dala ng battery. So, the last one is stop deforestation. We all know that trees is very important in our environment, especially hinahelp niya ang environment to produce oxygen that we breathe every day. So, we encourage each other to stop deforestation, but at least plant some trees to help our environment.
So let's move on about light pollution. So what is light pollution? Light pollution is the excessive, misdirected, and poorly designed use of artificial lights. It disrupts the natural balance between day and night by creating unwanted brightness in the night environment. Pollution wastes energy, affects wildlife behavior, especially nocturnal animals like owls and bats. Light pollution interferes with astronomical observations, and it can even impact with human health by disturbing sleep pattern. So we have 4 types of light pollution, which is sky glow, glare, light trespass, and clutter. So first is sky glow. Sky glow is the brightening of the night sky caused by artificial light scattering in the atmosphere. For example, is in large cities like Manila, stars becomes invisible due to the orange or white glow filling to the night sky from street lights and building lights. So second is glare. Intense and uncontrolled brightness that causes visual discomfort and reduces visibility. For example, is a car glare from oncoming car at night and bright floodlights at a parking lot. And next is light trespass. Trespass is when artificial light spills into an areas where it is unwanted or unnecessary. For example, is a bright security lights from a neighbors and disturbing your sleep. And lastly is clutter. Clutter is a confusing visual scene. For example, a busy intersection with multiple lit signs, street light all close together, hard to focus.
So now let's move on to the treatment and management of the light pollution. We have 1. Use light only when and where needed. So how can we do that? By obviously turning off lights when not in use, especially outdoors. Or another example of that, or another way rather, is putting light only on specific areas such as the pathways, the entrances and exits, and not the entire yard or garden. So why is it important for us to follow this? So of course, it can reduce the energy use and carbon emissions, minimize its impact on nocturnal animals, and even prevents sleep disruption and eye strain in humans. So number 2, we have the use of appropriate light colors. So you might be thinking that colors doesn't affect or doesn't involve us. Technically, it does. So how can we do that? So by choosing warm colored LEDs below 3000 K instead of bright blue white lights. So a lot of people are questioning this one kasi like I already mentioned, marami talagang nagtataka na hindi naman sila aware na nagkakaroon or naapektuhan tayo ng color of light. So, let's talk about its importance. So, obviously, warmer tones are less glaring and more natural at night. So, it also helps reduce the sky glow or the brightening of the night sky. So, magkakaroon din tayo ng greater opportunity for the stargazing experience. So, na number 3, we have the shield light fixtures. So, how can we do that? By obviously using the fully shielded fixtures that direct light downward, and also by replacing unshielded outdoor lights with downward facing models. So why is it important? It thus improves the visibility and safety by reducing the glare, and obviously preserves the stargazing opportunities too. So our number 4, we have the promoting responsible lighting practices. So how can we do that? So obviously by encouraging schools, cities, and businesses to follow the lighting guidelines like IDA standards. Also to support local dark sky initiatives and ordinances. Kaya tayo minsan nagpapakondak ng mga projects or activities in which we are telling the students to observe the night sky, especially when the lights are off. So why is it important? For instance, it does help build communities that value and protect the night environments. Like I already mentioned, the nocturnal animals are quite sensitive in lights. Another one is that it does set the standards that improve public safety without overlighting. Siyempre, hindi ka naman siguro tatawid ng daan na bigla-bigla ka na lang masisilaw. So that's quite dangerous. So the number 5 and the last one is educate the public. I think we are all aware of this, since people don't give any concerns in terms of lessing or having their concerns on the light pollution, since some of the people are, or mostly rather, are not especially aware of it to start with, or to begin with rather. So to educate public, how can we educate the public? Well, obviously by sharing the information through social media, schools and platforms, local events, and also it is by showing the beauty of the night sky and the impact of pollution through stargazing nights. Like I already said kanina. Kaya nagko-conduct or activities ang school about sa stargazing is para na rin maging aware yung students. It also, of course, promote the benefits of proper lighting. So, why do we think na bakit siya important? Diba? Like, a lot of people might be saying na, that's just light. It doesn't have quite an impact on such things like our lives, our the animals, and the environment itself. So, no, that's not true. It has a lot of impacts, especially on our daily lives and our eye health. So, to give clarity and to give specificity, it is important because it does give the awareness which leads to actions and inform people to make better choices by simply following the guidelines that are mentioned. So, and also, or furthermore, the community involvement is a key to large-scale change. Obviously, hindi naman agad-agad mababawasan yung light pollution dahil lang isang tao ang gumawa. But we need to make a movement, initiation for us to attract the other people to participate. So,
Next, we have noise pollution or sound pollution. Uh, Noise pollution or sound pollution, it is the propagation of sound which has a potential harmful effect to human or animals. Noise pollution or sound pollution has its types, which is categorized into two, which is the man-made and the natural. In man-made, we have transportation, industrial, construction, and household. In transportation, uh, sounds are coming from bus, truck, car, motorcycles, etc., and other vehicles. In industrial, we have the mining operation or factories. In construction naman, we have demolition, mga ginagawang building, something like that. In household, we have loud music and other home activities. Next, in natural noises naman, we have animals, weather, and geological. In animal, we have insects and other animal that can create a sound. Weather, sa weather naman, we can have thunderstorm or lightning. In geological noises naman, we have earthquake, tsunamis.
Now, we'll proceed to the treatment and management of noise pollution. The number one is source control. This topic involves directly reducing noise at its origin. A clear example is the implementation of no honking zones as depicted by the traffic sign to limit unnecessary noise generation. Next one is the traffic management. This topic focuses on minimizing noise pollution through the strategic management of vehicle flow and transportation systems. This can include optimizing traffic patterns and promoting quieter transportation options like electric cars and iba pa. Next is policy and regulation. This subtopic involves establishing and enforcing rules and standards to control permissible noise levels. The Stop Noise Pollution poster likely references such regulations and importance of adhering to them. Lastly is the public awareness of education. This subtopic emphasizes informing and educating the community about the impacts of noise pollution and encouraging quieter behaviors. Campaigns like the one with the megaphone promoting less noise, more harmony fall under this category. These topics represents a comprehensive strategy for addressing and mitigating noise pollution in our environment.